Good Saturday morning, friends. Today is Saturday, December 22nd. I am Letitia and welcome to my channel. So this is the first update for this video. It is the Saturday before Christmas and I have to work on Christmas Eve. It's fine. It's the first year that our office has been open on Christmas Eve. I work for a major insurer. This is the first year that our office was open, and I'm going in and it will be quiet as, what is that? There's sunlight beaming in on me. It'll be quiet in the office, and that's good. But other than that, I am ready for the holidays, and I hope you are too. Donning the annual Bah Humbug Christmas sweater, and one of my team members gave me the Bah Humbug hat, bam, with Bella. So yeah, I'm going all out. But anyway, I'm here to give you a quick update. I have a few updates from the last time we chatted. I have some whip updates. I have a very little bit of haul that I received this week, and let's get started. So last week, just giving a couple of shout outs. Last week I was watching Tash, the star-crossed stitcher, and she did her final whip parade. I think she was doing the whip parade broken up in a series, and she did her final whip parade. Yeah, she's killing me. I want all of her things, every last one of them. I also started watching, watched a lot of Canadian, not a lot, I have two shout outs, but they're both Canadian, Flosstubers. So this first duo, I should say, because it's not one Flosstuber, it's two. The first duo, I subscribed to them a while back, and what's sad is I met them. They went to the FLOSSTUBE New Jersey retreat, and it was one of those things we just never quite interacted or crossed paths, but I wasn't watching them at that time, so I had no idea that I was in the midst of stitching royalty, and that is Stitching Social. So Alison and Jen are two sisters. They live in Canada, not far from Crafty Kim or Caroline, because they have stitching meetups together. But these two young ladies have some fantastic projects to show. One of them is more of a monogamous stitcher, while the other one is more of a process stitcher. So they have two very different dynamics, but they're just fantastic to watch, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. I binge watched them all last week. I'm all caught up and I'm ready for more. So I will certainly link them below, but that is Stitching Social. You may watch them already. I am late to the bandwagon as always, but I thoroughly enjoyed watching them. I also watched Stitched Pixels, Stitched_Pixels, and this is Amanda, who is also Canadian stitcher. She likes large projects. She does like BAPs. She tends to stitch cross country. She just recently finished, I think it was Generation 1 of the Epic Pokemon cross stitch, which I have kitted up. I have actually started it. I have no idea to this day what a Pokemon is. I know none of the names, but the generational patterns were free. So I think I have 6 generations. They're huge. They're massive undertakings, but it's like, you've seen them, the colorful collages of all the Pokemon characters. And she has finished, I think she calls it part 1, but to me, it's like, what more is there to do? Because it's an epic finish. She posted it on social media, and I didn't quite realize at the time when she was posting it that was Stitched Pixels, excuse me, on FlosStube. So I've been binge watching her as well, and catching up with her. Yesterday during the Friday night stitch-in, I watched Michelle Bendy's last update. I think she posted it midweek. and I went down a serious hands across the sea rabbit hole on the Sassy Jacks website. So more to come on that. So last week I did an impromptu whip parade, which stumbled into a 2019 plans video, my trunk show. So thank you for all the positive feedback on all of the whips that I showed and what my plans were. A lot of people were commenting that they're amazed by people that make these 2019 plans. I'm not really a planner because none of it works for me, or I don't work for my plan, I'll say that. I'll come up with these plans and then, you know, I stitch what I want and what I want. But this year, I am actively trying to stitch from stash, trying to work on my whips because I have a lot of whips that just aren't seeing love and aren't seeing finishes. So last week, I accidentally just so happened to pull out 12 whips because I was deciding what I wanted to work on at the start of my rotation. And it just so happened to be 12 whips that I pulled out. And I was like, well, boom, there's my 2019 rotation. So I actually took some time and planned all that out for the entire year. Now, we will see how that goes, but I'm very excited about working on all of them. And I have it set up so each of them are worked on twice for a 2-week period, as well as most of them will be included in my high tea whip rotation. And I say most of them because there were a few that I didn't include. I didn't include my Erica Bidu. I didn't include the Jacobian Bell Pole. And there was one other one. My Sparkling Peacock Garden Mandala. Not Sparkling Peacock, it's the Peacock Garden Mandala chatelaine. That was my first chatelaine that I started on January 1st, 2016. And I didn't get much further than that. Well, no, I started it. I think I got the first square done, the middle square done, and started going outside of that middle square, but that was pretty much it. And I definitely wanted to work on that this year. Then in the Stitchers Coven group, Amy DeVille, she asks a question of the day. And one of the questions of the day was, what's your oldest whip? And it was my Oriental Orchids, which was a Dimensions kit that I started, I want to say in 2006. It is shameful, the minimal amount that I actually have left to finish on that, and the fact that it's still a whip. So that is actually going to be my first high tea start of 2019, and I'm just going to finish that. So yeah, more to come on all of that. So one of the things I showed last week as well was my tribal monkey, the original tribal monkey, or as I call it, Cornelius version 1 or 1.0. And I asked you guys to share if you had any ideas on what I could do with the stitching that was left, because I'm not going to toss it. It's beautiful, colorful, something I can do with that. So I got a lot of ideas for suggestions rather for project bags, lots of suggestions for pouches, notions pouch rather, which is what I was thinking. A couple of people mentioned pin cushions, and I had talked about possibly making it into a Viscornu. But a couple of people had, like, I'm looking at my notes here, really good ideas outside of the box. Kelly, I'll just say Kelly B is her last initial. She suggested a scissor case with a matching fob and pin cushion. I love the idea of making it into a scissor fob. I have to wrap my head around that, around how I'll do that. But like a scissor case, fob, pin cushion set. I love that idea. I loved that idea. I didn't even think about making a set. And Annabelle S blew my mind with a suggestion to make it into earrings and possibly a necklace. And I could envision what she was talking about, and with those colors and that funky design, yes, that could happen. But I just love the creative ideas that were posted. So I thank all of you guys for sharing. My blinds are like going crazy right now because the window's open. It was 65 degrees yesterday. 65 degrees. Insane. And now it's back to like 40. But yesterday was an absolute treat. You went outside, it felt like springtime. It's gorgeous. All right, so let's get into this so we don't have another accidental hour and some change long video. So whips. So last week, obviously, I worked on Tribal Monkey. Tribal Monkey, we're going into the second week of the rotation, but with Tribal Monkey, I've decided I'm just going to work on him throughout the year. And then on January 1st, I have a new start, but not a new start because no new starts, right? So my new start for January 1st is going to be Esther's Waves by Northern Expressions Needleworks. And I call that a new start because all I have is the 2 Jessica stitches in there. It might as well be a new start, right? So yeah, that's what I'm going to start on January 1st. So we're just going to hang out with Cornelius 2.0. If you guys don't know, when I call my Tribal Monkey Cornelius, it's because the pattern, I don't have them nearby. Anyway, the Tribal Monkey reminds me of Cornelius from Planet of the Apes. So I've named him Cornelius. So this is Cornelius 2.0. I will insert a picture here of what he looked like when I picked him back up after like forever. But I'll insert a picture here of what he looked like when I started. And here is where we are. So here's where we are. I know, right? That eyeball. I finished his eyeball. And I'm now working on his nostrils right here. Would have been a lot more progress, but we had a serious frogging situation. I got all the way over here with doing, what is this called? Not your upper lip, whatever that part of your face is. That's what this is. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's his nostrils. So this is right here that I'm working on right above his nostrils. And I was all the way over here with all this weight, and I had to take it all out because it was wrong. So 1/1 25 count frogging. Great fun. So that's where I am right now. I don't know if I'm going to keep going down and try to work my way to his chin, or if I'm going to go to the other side and try to finish his eye. I honestly don't know which direction I'm going in, but as of right now, we're working on his nose. Loving Tribal Monkey again. Completely fell back in love with him. So happy I picked him back up. And you know, somebody mentioned that they liked it better on the orange fabric. I think I do too, but what I really like better is him on 25 count. I'm not mad at the orange fabric. I actually like it a lot, even though it looks like it's really blending in right now. It won't in the end, but I think that orange fabric behind the eye when I go to frame it will really be beautiful. I think it'll really pop. So I agree with that, but I really love it on 1/1 on 25 count. So that is Cornelius 2.0. My husband is whistling. Do you hear it? Caroline, do you hear it? Right. And next up, I didn't work on Tribal Cat this week. I really need to figure out what I'm doing with my life with this sunflower for Troy, because I haven't worked on that either. I need to get that together. But I didn't work on Tribal Cat. So the only other update I have is Desiderata. We are getting closer. Just do this. We're getting closer to the point where I have to do, I'm going to have to do my Hardinger, because we're almost at the end. Not really almost, but we're closer. But this is what I worked on last night. let me fold this up and show this for you. Just as a reminder, this was my November high tea start. So my high tea starts, I work on them on that Sunday, high tea Sunday. I work on them all day on that high tea Sunday. And then they come out every week for the Friday night stitching party. Now for the past couple of weeks, I have been really distracted for my high tea, during high tea. So I don't have much stitching done on this. I did finish this chain last night and this one little satin stitch leaf. That's what I did last night. So not much progress. But when I do my high tea starts, just as a reminder, or my high tea whips, because I'm working on whips for high tea, not new starts anymore. As a reminder, I work on them that high tea Sunday, and then on every Friday thereafter during the month for the Friday night stitching. And that makes sure it gets some additional love. Now, ideally, it may not be the very next 2 weeks, but once I finish showing it love on high tea, I will add that into my 2-week rotation. So that's all to say that next Friday is the last Friday night that I work on Desiderata, but there is a 2-week rotation coming up shortly thereafter. And I believe it's right after my 2 weeks that I'm working on Esther's Waves at the beginning of the year. I think that's how I planned it out. So you'll be seeing Desiderata again, and I do intend to finish that this year. So that's that. I do have one more whip. Might be a bit of a surprise. I have started my diamond painting. So you can see where I have some of the drills in there. One thing I quickly realized, is that it is very helpful to have a small case to hold your drills, because I didn't have that. So I was fumbling around with all the little plastic bags that were opened. So I didn't want to open up all of the plastic bags at once, obviously. So I was doing it one color at a time. And I was like, how do people like have like this whole section done and they just go over with all of this done without opening all of their bags? It's because they have a tray. Like, you know, they have common sense. So I got one of those little trays from Amazon. I haven't opened it yet. I got maybe, I don't know, maybe I did 4 colors on this thing. So I don't know if it's because I didn't have those trays to make it easier to work through the piece. But I'm actually quite happy to report I am not in fear of diamond painting taking over my hobby life. I liked it, but it wasn't as, oh my God, I can't wait to do more, I have to do more. I didn't have that type of reaction. It was like, yes, it was cool. But I wanted to stitch. So I'm very happy to report that I still love my cross stitching more than any other hobby. But that's where it will live for a while. Now, as you know, I ordered a few more diamond painting kits. They're relatively inexpensive, so I don't feel like, oh, I didn't like it. And I didn't not like it, you know, just, I didn't become obsessed with it. So I have a few more diamond paintings coming, well, a couple more, because one of them I actually already received. And this is the elephant. This is the piece that Carolyn Mazzio finished. And I was enabled to get this one because, one, hello, elephant, Jessie Marie, don't look. Number one, it's an elephant. But guys, it's not just regular drills that you get. I hope you can see this because I'm not going to take this out of packaging. But it is actual rhinestones. Rhinestones. I mean, it's the real McCoy. So when I saw Carolyn's with these actual rhinestones. I was like, okay, gotta get that one. I am gonna open this up. Sorry, crinkle, crinkle. So you can see. So that whole elephant is done with these actual beautiful, sparkly rhinestones. And I think that's awesome. So I will get to that. Ooh, look at this. The big treasures here. Look at that. And some stars. Oh, yeah. So Carolyn just finished hers, and it's, like, amazing. I'll put that away later because that is super noisy. So Carolyn finished hers. It's super amazing. So I am excited to have this. I'm happy to have this, but I will get to that one day. And I honestly think this is something that my husband might get into. I think he might get into that. He's been showing some interest. So that arrived last week. This last thing I'm going to show you is pretty exciting. And I wasn't going to talk about it. I wasn't going to show it until I got busted. I got busted on my own video. So about 5 years ago, yeah, about 5 years ago, I won a giveaway for a chatelaine. I didn't win the whole kit, obviously. It was a pattern. It was a hard copy of the pattern. And I'm pretty sure it was my second chatelaine pattern, because my first one was the Peacock Garden Mandala. But I was so intimidated by starting a chatelaine, I had just the pattern. And I didn't buy the kit for that until it was like almost a year later. But anyway, somewhere in that time, between having the Peacock Garden Mandala pattern and kitting up the Peacock Garden Mandala, I won this giveaway for a chatelaine pattern. And I've just had the pattern all this time because it was going to be huge to kit up. It was a big one, an expensive one, and there were other chatelaines that I wanted more than that one. So I never kitted it up. So last week or the week before, I was poking around on eBay, minding my own business, poking around, and I saw it. Plain as day, it was the Taj Mahal chatelaine, full kit, including the MPI silks, at a ridiculous price. Significantly lower than what I would have paid on European cross stitch. It would have been ridiculous to pass it up, so I didn't. So this is what the Taj Mahal looks like. It's beautiful, right? So this pattern and the full kit is what was being sold. Keeping in mind, I already had a pattern. So now I have two Taj Mahal chatelaines patterns. So you know it's coming eventually, right? Because I don't need to. But that being said, I bought the kit, and then in one of the comments last week, and here's the full kit with all the pretties and all the MPI silks. It was an amazing price. So last week, in the beads, one of the comments on my video, and it started off just as a regular comment from Covered in Cat Hair, and then she said, by the way, have you ordered any chatelaines off of eBay lately? Because I just sold one and the name looks awfully familiar. Hashtag busted. Totally busted. So it was Talia, I'm sorry, Covered in Cat Hair on FLOSSTUBE that was selling the kit. So I was so tickled that I purchased the kit from not only a viewer, but a fellow FLOSSTuber. So I thought that was awesome. So yeah, so now I have this fully kitted. I have an extra pattern that will be coming up in a giveaway. I don't know when, but it will be coming up in a giveaway. So yeah, that happened last week. Also, Lisa France, excuse me, the Modern Stitcher. Sorry about that. The Modern Stitcher had another de-stash sale on Instagram for her fabrics. So this is 32 count ruby from Color and Cotton. No idea what I'm going to put on it, but it's going to be something great. And this is 28 count Lugana and Icicle from the Crafty Kitten. I don't think I've ever had a piece from the Crafty Kitten. And this is a half yard. And that's it. That's it for my haul. That's it for my updates. That's it for pretty much everything. So I will cut this off, and I guess I will see you guys next week with another update. Wishing you all a very Merry Christmas. So yeah, I will see you guys again before the end of the year. Don't know if this will be uploaded before the end of the year, but I will see you next Saturday with another update. Thanks for watching. Bye. Good morning, friends. Today is Monday, December 24th. It is Christmas Eve, and I just wanted to show you the cross-stitching calendar that arrived at my doorstep this morning from Willow Creek Press. I posted a link to this calendar in Stitch Mania and Friday Off the Grid. One of the members posted that their daughter gave it to her for Christmas, and I was like, hey, I like cross stitching. I like calendars. I too need one. And it was an amazing deal when I went looking on Amazon for it. So I shared the link, and I'll also share it below, but I thought I'd do a quick flip through. Here we have January, a gorgeous elephant. You guys know anything about me and my stitching style, you know these patterns are right up my alley. Here we have February, beautiful tree. We have April. Oh, wait a minute. There is a month between March and April. Let's go back, shall we? There you go. We have a lovely little kitty cat for the month of March. We have a beautiful Seattle skyscape. Is that Seattle? I'm thinking yes, with the Space Needle. I don't know. Hopefully I'm not embarrassing myself with that. That is April. May, we have a lovely hummingbird. June, which is my birth month. That's beautiful. I don't know what it's called, the official name for it, but I know it's like the hand. You guys know what I'm talking about. I don't know what it's called. Yeah. Look at the giraffe for the month of July. He may or may not be my favorite. A lovely turtle. I actually already have this pattern. September, we have the New York City skyline, place of my birth. A wise old owl in the month of October. November is for fox. In December, looks like a lovely lotus flower, I'm thinking. And then here's the fun part. In the back, you have a nice envelope with all of the patterns. And I think each pattern, I kind of looked through it quickly, each pattern is like, I don't know, average 6 by 7, so they're fairly small, or a decent size rather. But this is a really nice calendar. It's nice and large, high gloss pages. I'm going to keep this here in my office so I can look at it every single day. but the patterns are coming home with me. But I just wanted to do a quick flip through and share that with you guys. Cross Stitching 2019 activity calendar from Willow Press. Link will be below. Merry Christmas. Good Sunday morning, everyone. Today is Sunday, December 30th, and I am here with my last update for the year. So normally I would do an update on Saturdays. I didn't do one yesterday. And I was actually just watching Christine from Stitch All the Things, and I decided I needed to do this because if I didn't do it now, I wouldn't have my last video up for the year. And I've been doing pretty well with keeping regular updates, so this method is working. So I wanted to just hop on and show you what I've been up to. This will probably be uploaded today because I have a funny feeling that this segment is going to be a little bit longer than normal, but my updates are never short, are they? I think the most that I've done for one video when doing these Saturday updates is maybe 2 updates. Last time it was 1 update because it was ridiculously long. I'm trying to be like Christine when I grow up and do these like short snippets, but it's not happening. So yeah, so here we are. I have some whips to show you. Today is high tea. So I have my high tea whip to show you, and a little bit of haul. A couple of things from Christmas. One thing that I ordered a few weeks ago and came in this past week, and a couple of things that happened because blame Bendy. Hashtag blame Bendy. Yeah. So anyway, happy belated birthday to Diana and Chelsea. Happy belated birthday to you guys. I think you both celebrated birthdays this week. But I'm going to just jump in with my whips from the last week. And I had a new start. That happened. So the sunflower that I've been working on for Troy, I did restart it on 22 count fabric. And I talked about in my last video I was probably going to do that, end up restarting it. I restarted it on 22 count fabric, and I'm doing 10th stitch, and it's coming along beautifully. So far I'm just working on the border, but of course I don't have it here to show you. I think it's in my car, so there's that. But what I do have to show you is progress on our beloved tribal monkey. Now, I finished his nose. You can see his nostrils right here and part of his mouth. Now, over here, I'm doing an outline of his face, and I'm doing that for a reason. Somewhere up in here, in this little section right here, I'm off by 1 stitch, and it threw everything off. And it's isolated to this area, but I can't pull it out because it messes up everything else. So I'm fudging it. There is a lot of fudgery going on right here. So I've outlined his face, or the side of his face, and I'm just going to fill in that portion in the middle that's empty. And then everything on the outside of those black lines will be fine according to the pattern. That top line is fine, so when I start to go above his head, I can't point it the same. I'm trying to... Yeah, there we go. So everything on this top line here is accurate, so when I go above his head, all of that will be fine. And the way that this outline is done, all of this will be fine. So the fudgery will have to take place in here somewhere. So my plan is to fill all of this in and take care of that section. So when I pick him back up again, because his rotation ends tomorrow. His rotation ends tomorrow. When I pick him back up again, I won't have all of that fudgery to deal with. So he's looking pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. Right here where his cheek is, this is the farthest edge of his cheek. So I know he'll fit on the fabric. But yeah, I'm absolutely in love with him. He's amazing. He's just amazing. The colors, everything, the sharpness of the colors, the vividness, the vibrancy. This right here is what I love about stitching in one pattern. Yeah, this says it all. It's different, it's abstract, it's colorful, it's in your face. This is what I like to stitch. Yeah. So somebody just left a comment on my trunk show video, my accidental whip parade, that they loved seeing all my projects and how different they were, and it was like a cross stitch buffet. And I just love that comment. I think the name was D Sun. I haven't replied yet, but I did see it. That's so true, because I'll go from something like Tribal Monkey to what I'm about to show you next, which was my new start. And then something like Desiderata. It's all over the place, but I know what I like when I see it. But Tribal Monkey truly speaks to what I really, really am attracted to. Bright colors, vivid, just, yeah. Anyway, so speaking of bright colors, this is my new start this week. It's showing up backwards here, but I hope it's showing up properly on camera. Well, when you know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, this is Not Quite White Work by Northern Expressions Needlework. I have loved this pattern. Jessie Marie is doing it. Tracy started it. And I've been drooling over it since they both started showing their updates. And Mieke, my darling Bluebell, Mieke was kind enough to let the world know this past week that Northern Expression Needleworks had 25% off their patterns. So I was like, well, now's the time, because I'm not trying to do any buying in 2019. And so I got it. So I got the pattern. Is it nearby so I can show you what it looks like? Probably not. If I remember, I will insert a picture here. And I'm using, I showed a couple of videos ago, I got the Bewitching Hour set from Victoria Motto Sampler Threads. I'm using all of those threads in this pattern, and this fabric is Carrara Marble by Color and Cotton. This was the fabric of the month, I think, a couple of months ago, rather. I remember I got this right after I came back from the Stitch Fest retreat in October. So I want to say this was October's pattern of fabric of the month. But I'm using all grays. I started the border down here just to kind of show myself where to start this first block. But I don't think I'm going to have enough grays to do the letters and the border in the same color. So the pattern calls for 10 skeins of one color for the letters and the border. It's the dominant color in the Not Quite White Work pattern, and it's called Natural. So anywhere you see the white, that's the natural. So I can't do that with even though I get 20 yards, I can't do that with obviously one skein from Victorian Motto. So this is going to end up coming out, this right here, this border. And I don't know if you can see that herringbone pattern. But that's going to end up coming out, and I'll just do that whole border in a different shade of gray. There's a lot of grays in that palette, but I have to place them strategically because some of them are very light, which I like, but some of them are very light and may not show up well on this marbled fabric. If the grays stand alone. So I have to be very strategic with how I place those lighter grays. So this is going to come out and just be a different shade of gray. This might also be a good pattern to bring out on dark 13, dark 13, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. I usually don't participate in that because I don't stitch Halloween-y patterns, but all of the grays have like spooky type names like Goose and Goalies or Cauldron or stuff like that. So this might be a good Dark 13. But this is my start. And I may take this out and just do all of the letters because the herringbone pattern is meant to go, the herringbone border pattern, you do it all one way and then you come back and do it all the other way. So I'm afraid by stopping here, I'm going to not going to remember where I left off and I'm going to mess up the border. So that has to come out anyway, but I may just keep going with the letters. So anyway, that was a very long explanation, but that's that. I'm channeling Emily and Jim today with my Jimmy FLOSSTUBE t-shirt. And look, Emily, the earrings you gave me. Love them. So anyway, a little sidebar there. The next update I have to show you is Desiderata. So this is coming along wonderfully. I was listening to my audiobook on Friday night while I stitching on this for the Friday night stitching on the Off the Grid group. And I actually got a lot done because I wasn't as distracted as I have been for the past couple of Fridays. I got a lot done. It doesn't look like a lot, but it is a lot. I finished that whole bottom border of the green petals. They are all satin stitched. And I started with the next verse. So. And I also finished page 3, so I'm on page 4 of 5 now. So I'm on the second to the last page of the pattern. So yeah, this will be a finish in 2019. This was my high tea whip that I celebrated for November, and I worked on it every Friday night during the Friday night stitching, which is what I do with my high tea projects. I start them or I work on them that Sunday in high tea, and then I'll work on them every single Friday night until the next high tea. So this one is done as far as Friday nights are concerned, but I did build it into my rotation for next year. So this has a 2-week rotation coming up soon. It's not too far away. And the way that I scheduled those 12 whips that I pulled out in my whip parade, I'll work on each of them for a 2-week rotation 2 times over the course of the next year. And then I tried to put some of them in my high tea whip as well to celebrate them, because they're whips that I'm trying to focus on finishing. Some of them anyway, or at least work on. I'm rambling. So that was it for my whips. Speaking of high tea, so Amy from Amy DeBell, I might have talked about this in my last update, I'm not sure, but she posted a question of the day. She posts questions of the day daily in the Stitchers Coven group. And one question, last week before last, I don't remember, she asked was, what's your oldest whip? And I thought about it, and my oldest whip, little backstory, when I first started watching FLOSSTUBE, and I mean going way back when to probably, what year is this? Probably 2013, maybe 2014, when I first found Megan on FLOSSTUBE. I had 2 whips at the time. I had a handful of cross-stitch kits and patterns that hadn't been started, but back then I had 2 whips. I had my 3-year ribbon women, which I finished and framed, I want to say in 2017, maybe 2016, no, 2017. Anyway, I had the 3-year ribbon women, and I had this pattern that I'm about to show you. They were the only ones that I had, the only ones I worked on. Ginger Gerald just updated Flossmas Day 30, just popped up. And I would just alternate between them, but back then I was mostly crocheting and knitting. So cross stitch came out once in a while, maybe once a year. And I would get in my cross stitch bug for like a month or so and then put it away and go back to knitting and crochet. So when I found Megan, And when I was in the Serial Starters and Disciplined Divas cross stitch group ran by Jeannie, going way back, right? That's when I really started getting into cross stitch a little bit more. And where I discovered patterns that were available online and not just in Michael's and Joann's. And that's kind of where it all started. So I got excited about this newfound world of cross stitch that I was becoming a part of, and those two patterns kind of fell by the wayside. So I finished, like I said, the 3 Reuben Women, but I haven't picked this pattern up since then. So at least 5 years, 6 years ago. This was started in 2006. This is Oriental Orchids by Dimensions. I am so close to finishing this, it's ridiculous. So I have to finish this top orchid. Look at the masking tape on the edges, guys. Yeah, this is I was kicking it old school with this one. I'm gonna frame this myself because I think the square is like 10 by 10. I can easily get a mat for that. I'm gonna frame this myself. But I think I just have to finish this top orchid here. Back stitching, lots of half stitches. You see there's some half stitches in there that are done in metallic. Yeah. And part of the problem with this was too, and let me stay focused. So I have to finish these vines. And then there's somewhere up here, there's another vine with like green buds that are on it. So part of the problem that I had with this pattern too is I lost the second page from the kit. So I didn't have the pattern for a very long time. And then we moved and I found it one day. It was in one of the boxes in the garage. I found the second half of the pattern. And that's also when I found, I think, my 3 Reuben Women. And that's when I just finished that up because that was the same thing. I didn't have far to go. And when I found it, I was like, I need to finish this. And I did. So this is going to probably be my first finish of 2019. This is my high tea whip that I am celebrating today. I'm still working on Tribal Monkey, but I am going to put a couple of stitches in this today, you know, just for the sake of consistency. But I'm going to put a couple of stitches in this, and then I'll work on this every single Friday night until the next high tea. And that's my process with high tea and how I'm showing my whip some love. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish this. Not even pretty sure. I'm positive I'm going to finish this in 2019. Well, God willing, you know. So, you know, the funny thing about this, Caroline mentioned this in one of her videos, that all of the patterns that she has, all of the whips she has, all of the kits she has, or pieces that she's kitted up, that she might have purchased a long time ago, she still loves them. And except for a handful of things that I have that I know I'll never stitch because I bought them so long ago and my tastes have changed. This is a prime example of that. Like, this is so far from what I would do now. I still like kits. I do. I just got a couple of Dimensions Golds kits. I still like a nice kit. But it's 14 count Aida. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, but I don't really stitch on Aida like that anymore. And when I do, it's usually not 14 count. But looking at this, I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And I still love it, and I would absolutely frame this and put it on my wall. Very proud of this. The only question I have, and I'm hoping that somebody can answer it for me, this is one of those kits that has like this area here that's shaded. It's pre-stamped on there. Has anybody finished this and like washed it when they were done? Because like I said, this is from 2006. It has 13 years of exposure on it. So I would want to give this a good soak, but I would hate for that pre-stamped area to come out. So if anybody has done this or has done any kits from Dimensions that had that pre-stamped area in the background, did you wash it when you were done, and did this come out? I'm going to check the instructions. Actually, I have this one page here. And it doesn't say anything on here about being able to wash it at the end. So maybe I'll go on the Dimensions website and see if there's anything there. But if anybody can, anybody that stitched this or any kit or anything from Dimensions similar that had that pre-stamped background, tell me if you washed it. And by wash it, I mean just like a nice long soak in some tepid water with mild detergent. I don't mean wash it. So let me know if you have any feedback on that. I would greatly appreciate it. And I think that's it for my whips. So I'm going to talk about haul real quick and show a couple of things, a few things that I purchased, and then I received some things. So in my last update, I was talking about how I purchased a few diamond painting kits. And I showed the one, I'm pretty sure, I showed the one with the elephant that came in. My Desiderata tag fell off my bag. I showed the one with the elephant, the one that Carolyn Mazzio finished for her mom. Speaking of Carolyn, cross your fingers, cross your toes, cross your eyes, but I think there may be a comeback in the works. I don't want to misspeak, but I know she posted something on Instagram saying that she was going back into her craft room to do some reorganizing. And somebody asked, does this mean that you're making a video? And she said once she gets it all organized. So I think her video is going to be focused on diamond painting because that's what she's been doing a lot of lately. And she's been doing wonderful finishes, but let's all cross our fingers that we see our friend again. Speaking of diamond painting, I just realized I'm not going to be able to show you this because it's covered up. But about maybe 2 videos ago, I posted a picture of the 3 women with the jeweled makeup that I have the cross stitch pattern, but when I found it in a diamond painting pattern, I wanted it. I was like, okay, let me get that. It's a great price. Oh, here it is right here. So hopefully you can see it. Those are the 3 women. That's what they'll look like. So I got the kit, right? And my elephant, it was just a small little elephant with like, you know, a small thing of beads. Guys, I saw this and I was like, what in the world have I done? So there's the beautiful women. Did you hear me gulp? Yeah. What? Does everything I do have to be a BAP? Does everything have to be ridiculously large? Apparently. This is full coverage. Like, I'm low-key excited about it, but I'm also like, yeah, that's a lot. So my last video, I said I was probably going about doing diamond painting all wrong because I was working out of the bags. I didn't realize that I needed to have a bead tray, and I was not making a mess of things, but I was cross-country diamond painting, if you will, with the little like mandala, the little 9x9. And with something that size, I was able to do that. But I was like, how are people going so neatly? Like, they'll peel off a section of the paper and just do that whole section. And then it clicked. I was like, oh my God, they're using a bead tray. So I got these little bead trays, and I think that will make the experience more pleasurable for me. Because I wasn't enjoying working out of the bags. I don't know if I mentioned it the last time, but I mean, I had the beads, the little drills in this thing, this little green thing. And I mean, before I even put one diamond on the canvas, I knocked over the tray. And I was like, this is not for me. I'm too clumsy for this. And the little drills went everywhere. It was a hot mess. So hopefully having that bead tray will make a world of difference. But I am going to finish that. And hopefully it'll just change my experience. The second thing that I got, I'm saying second because there's two of them. Hashtag blame Bendy. So I had purchased my first Hands Across the Sea sampler when I was in New Jersey at the FLOSSTUBE retreat. And you guys know I'm not much of a sampler girl, but while I was at the FLOSSTUBE retreat, I was sitting, I remember Lori was there. There's a bunch of women at a table and we just had breakfast. I think Jen was there, Lori was there, and they basically like schooled me on why samplers are so special, like the history behind the motifs, the history behind the women that stitched them. Like Jen told me a fantastic story of this young girl. Jen, I know I'm about to misspeak, so let me paraphrase. But basically she told me the story about this young girl that was a slave that secretly learned how to stitch, and that's how she learned her alphabets. And then she grew up and she ended up becoming a teacher. And I think she was in the Virginia Beach area, which is where my in-laws are. So there's a lot of history on my husband's side in that Eastern Shore, Virginia area. And they lived, well, my mother-in-law now lives in Virginia Beach. And once I heard that story, I was like, now that is something I know I would have to stitch if I found that pattern. And Jen, if you're watching, if you remember the name of that pattern that we talked about, yeah, like 7 months ago, if you remember that, can you stick it below for me or message me? But anyway, and Lori was telling me about all the history and the meaning behind each motif. Like if you see an acorn, that symbolizes something, or if you see a certain type of flower, that symbolizes something, and that's how the samplers tell a story. So in that moment, sitting with these women and talking about the samplers, I gained a different level of appreciation for samplers, and I was looking for them when we went back to Needleworkers Delight. So that being said, I went into a section where they had the Hands Across the Sea samplers, and the first thing I saw was this parrot, this huge parrot that was gorgeous. And then I read the verse, the poem, was it a poem? I don't know, whatever the verse was. And it was dark. It was a dark poem. And without being so, you know, overtly dark and morbid, but it was still something very touching about it and beautiful. And I love that parrot. So that was obviously the Eliza Bell Cox sampler. And I purchased that and I started that. And I think that might have been my first piece that I ever worked on 46 count, because apparently these Hands Across the Sea samplers are so large, the only way to avoid getting a fat half of fabric is to stitch it on a very high count fabric. So I stitched it on 46 count. So now I have 2 more Hands Across the Sea samplers because I was watching Bendy Stitchy's latest update video, I think. And of course she showed Harriet Hartland. So the pattern alone is really quite beautiful. But the poem, when she read it, it meant something personal to me. Why am I blurring out here? Whatever. It meant something to me. I'm not a extremely religious person. And this is a religious, it's almost like a prayer. But I'll read it to you. She already read it, so just indulge me as I go through this. Almighty God, thy piercing eye strikes through the shade of night, and our most secret actions lie. all open to thy sight. There's not a sin that we commit, nor wicked word we say, but in thy dreadful book 'tis writ against the judgment day. And must the crimes that I have done be read and published there, be all exposed before the sun, while men and angels hear, Lord, at thy foot, I don't know what that word is, ashamed. It's a funny font, so it's hard to read. Ashamed I lie, upward I dare not look, pardon my sins before I die, and blot them from my book. Remember all the dying pains that my Redeemer felt, and let his blood wash out my stains and answer for my guilt. Oh, may I now forever fear to indulge a sinful thought, since the great God can see and hear and writes down every fault. There is an hour when I must die, nor do I know how soon 'twill come. 1,000 children, young as I, are called by death to hear their doom. And then it says, honor thy parents at the end, which I'm going to take out because I don't know why that's there. But that poem, it means something to me. So as soon as she read it, I was like, oh my God, I need that. I need that. And I mean, it's a beautiful pattern, right? So it's a big one. This is 285 by 332. And that little bookmark that they give you, I got this from Sassy Jacks. That bookmark that they gave you, like this thing, it's covering up. But on 40 count, the design itself is 14 and a quarter by 16.6. Oh, there it is. So on 46 count, the design is 12.39 by 14.43. And the fabric is 18.39 by 20.43. So it'll be on 46 count because I can do it on a back quarter. But I'm doing that. I might switch the colors. I'm not sure. Not sure. But there's that. The second one I got is because of this border. This is Sarah Davis, circa 1840. Those flowers, I'm doing it at this angle because of the glare. Those flowers, you know they're going to be insane stitched in real life. And there's also another bird, which I'm into. And those women. And this one says, to my ever-honored parents, on this fair worsted does my needle write, both love and duty bid my heart indite. Each pleasing view, each finished line appears to show the improvement of my growing years. With gratitude to God, my voice I raise, that I am early taught to seek his ways. In this my consent, care both morn and night, shall be to give you comfort and delight. And in these lines, dear parents, I impart the fondest, tenderest dictates of my heart. So I'm going to change that, I'm sure. But I love that. So. And then I got some gifts for Christmas. The first one was a bit of a surprise, and I hope this person doesn't mind. I didn't ask permission to show it, but I'm showing it. It was a bit of surprise. It came from Gerald. Hi, Gerald. Thank you. And as soon as I saw the package when I came home, I was like, I actually said, Gerald, what have you done? Because it was a kind of a heavy package. And I said, Gerald, what have you done? You know, because, you know, I sent him a Christmas card. He sent me a Christmas card, and that was great, right? And then I get this package. But it was so special. It was so special. And I opened it, and this is something we had talked about. He sent me a text, and he was saying that he saw this beautiful Jacobean fabric at Hobby Lobby on clearance. And he showed it to me, and I was like, oh, that's amazing, this, that, and the other. It looked great on the back of the Jacobean bell pull, because, you know, we're both stitching this bell pull. Do you know that man went back, and he just so happened to see there was some fabric left and sent me some of it. Look at that. that gorgeous? Isn't that gorgeous? Just a love gift. I was so touched by this. So don't tell Gerald, but we are going to have matching project bags, humbly made matching project bags. Don't tell Gerald. But anyway, I just thought that was amazing. Look at that. Those colors, the turquoise, the gold. I mean, it makes me so happy. So I will definitely use this on the back of the Jacobean bell pull because it's a nice, it's not heavy. Well, it is kind of heavy, but it feels like it's not like just a cotton quilting weight. It's like almost like upholstery, but it's not like thick. It will make a great project bag or even a nice tote bag. But yeah, this is amazing. But it's also going to go on the back of the Jacobean bell pull once I finish that. I don't know if I'm making it into a bell pull or a pillow. I don't know, but this is going to be involved. So thank you, Gerald, very much. That was very, very, very thoughtful. The last two things I have to show you are gifts that came from my husband and daughter. Because I was talking about the diamond painting, and I was like thinking this would be something my husband would be into. So I was talking to him about it, and he was like, yeah, I've been looking at them. They're really interesting. And I'm thinking that he's going to get into it, but little did I know they were being sneaky McSneaky pants. And they got me a couple of diamond painting kits for Christmas. So this one, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? You know I love an elephant. And this, if you can stand it, it has the actual rhinestones. So I don't know enough about the diamond painting kits, but I hear people say they describe the drills that they get as AB or something. So DA, I don't know if there's, what I'm trying to say is I don't know if there's a way to identify the type of drills that you're getting, if you're getting actual rhinestones or if you're getting a different type of drill. I don't know, but I love the ones with the rhinestones. Look at that. All over this elephant. Can you stand it? Gorgeous. So that's one kit that I got. Need to be very careful to put all the little parts back. And the last one that I got, it took me by surprise. McKenna, control yourself. That's my disclaimer. McKenna, control yourself. He got me a gigantic rooster. Yeah, a gigantic rooster diamond painting. So that's funny. And here are the colors. Nice neutral mustards and blacks, and yeah, I think this will be fun. But yeah, gigantic rooster. And you do the background too, so it's full coverage. But I think it's one of those things that once it's actually finished, it'll be amazing. So that's all that I have to show for stitching related stuff. I have one last update that is not related to stitching. But I know some people appreciate it when we talk about books. So I'm going to talk about books just for a couple of minutes. Because I have plans going into the next year about how she wants to read more. And I love to read, but I also love to stitch. So a lot of times I listen to audiobooks while I'm stitching. I get a lot done because it's not as distracting as watching television. And I'll be honest, I'm not watching a lot of TV that much anymore. I watch FLOSSTUBE, but the past couple of weeks, I've really been getting back into reading again. So I was lucky enough to choose some books over the past couple of weeks that have really had me engaged. So when I get home and I wind down and everything's done for the day, instead of turning on the TV, I've been turning on my audiobook and stitching. So God, I just distracted myself, forgot where I was going. But Danielle's video, she talked about how she got her book poster, that she was going to read through these books over the course of the next year, and she kind of veered away from that. But she was talking about how she wants to focus on reading more books, and I was kind of on the same page with her. Without, not really at the time having a quote-unquote goal, other than just wanting to read more and read different types of books. Aside from the genre that I normally go into. I'm usually a suspense thriller type of girl. But I wanted to kind of get out of that. So I was looking up on Goodreads, looking up some ideas for audiobooks with really good narration. I think if you listen to audiobooks, if you have a bad narrator, it kind of ruins the whole experience for you. So having a great narrator makes all the difference in the world. Like, for example, the entire Harry Potter series. If I recall, his name is Jim Davis. Maybe not. Anyway, the narrator that does the entire Harry Potter series is phenomenal. I have read all of the books twice, seen all of the movies, and then I still went back and listened to all of the audiobooks. And it was a totally different experience. Jim Daly is his name, Jim Daly, because he really brings the book to life. Another great example of one of my all-time favorite audiobooks was The Help. Really well done. So that being said, I was looking on Goodreads to find audiobooks that were recommended based on the narrator. I just listened to Water for Elephants. I read that years ago, saw the movie, and then came back and listened to the audiobook because I love the story. And Michelle Bendy talked about it a long time ago in one of her videos, how she really loved listening to that. So I listened to Water for Elephants. And it was one of those things where you read it a long time ago and you kind of, you know the story, but you kind of forgot because it's been so long. So it was like reading it again for the first time, if that makes sense. So I really enjoyed that. Finished that, immediately watched the movie, as I tend to do after I finish reading a book. But based on this list from Goodreads, it suggested Ready Player One, which is not my genre. I'm not that into sci-fi. I'm not a gamer. So everything about this book, I wouldn't have read it. But I know a lot of people have read it and really enjoyed it, and I've heard good things about it, but it's not the type of book that I'll be like, ooh, I want to read this. But based on the recommendation from Goodreads, I gave it a shot. Man, oh man, am I glad I gave it a shot. So the first couple of chapters, I was listening to it, I was like, okay, whatever. And then I was invested in it. And it was so well written, so well done. Lots of nostalgia going back to if you were a child of the late 70s and 80s with video games, arcade games, Atari games. A lot of nostalgia going back to that time when video games first came out. So I could definitely relate to that because I was into video games back then. But it was really, really well done and kind of kept me on the edge of my seat. It was narrated by Will Wheaton, who was in Stand By Me and Star Trek, I believe. Star Trek. But I know him best from Stand By Me. Very well done. Really enjoyed that. So that being said, I was looking on Goodreads again, and they were doing the 2019 PopSugar Reading Challenge. And I've heard of this, but I never did it. But this has, the challenge is to read 40 books. And then for an advanced challenge, it gives you 10 more categories to choose a book from. So the challenge is they'll give you 40 different categories and you choose a book from this category and you read it. And the challenge is to get through the first 40. And if you are really going, you know, going for the gusto, you read this additional 10 books within these additional 10 categories. So the first category is a book becoming a movie in 2019. So I chose The Woman in the Window, and I'm starting it today. But I remember Danielle really saying that this book was amazing. And this is becoming a movie in October of 2019. So I think that'll be exciting. So that's the first category. The second one is a book that makes you nostalgic. A book written by a musician, fiction or nonfiction. A book you think should be turned into a movie. A book with at least 1 million ratings on Goodreads. A book with a plant in the title or on the cover. A reread of a favorite book. I already know that's going to be A Lesson Before Dying. A book about a hobby. A book you meant to read in 2018. A book with pop, sugar, or challenge in the title. A book with an item of clothing or an accessory on the cover. A book inspired by mythology, legend, or folklore. A book published posthumously. A book set in space. A book by 2 female authors. A book with a title that contains salty, sweet, bitter, or spicy. A book set in Scandinavia. That might be a girl with a dragon tattoo. A book that takes place in a single day. A debut novel. A book that's published in 2019. A book featuring an extinct or imaginary creature. A book recommended by a celebrity you admire. A book with love in the title. A book featuring an amateur detective. A book about a family. A book written by an author from Asia, Africa, or South America. A book with a zodiac sign or astrology term in the title. A book you see someone reading on TV or in a movie. A retelling of a classic. A book with a question in the title. A book set on a college or university campus. A book about someone with a superpower. A book told from multiple character POVs. A book that includes a wedding. A book by an author whose first and last names start the same letter. A ghost story. A book with a 2-word title. A novel based on a true story. A book revolving around a puzzle or a game. Your favorite prompt from a past PopSugar reading challenge. And then the advanced categories for an additional 10 books are a cli-fi or climate fiction book, a choose your own adventure book, an own voices book, read a book during the season it is set in, a lit RPG book, a book with no chapters, unusual chapter headings, or unconventionally numbered chapters, 2 books that share the same title, number 1, 2 books that share the same title, number 2, a book that has inspired a common phrase or idiom, such as Big Brother from 1984, a book set in an abbey, cloister, monastery, vicarage, or convent. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I like that it's not telling you what books to read. I like that you kind of have to search for books that fit into these categories, which should make it very interesting. But I also found out that if you just Google the category, like a book that makes you nostalgic, there's a bunch of books that come up. So I think it should be pretty interesting. But I also like that it takes me out of my comfort zone. Because if I go on my Overdrive app where you get the free library books, ebooks, or audiobooks, I search by genre and I always put in suspense or thriller. So this kind of takes me out of my comfort zone a little bit, which after reading Ready Player One, I need to do that. Because I'm not into sci-fi, but I also loved, what's it called? Kindred by Octavia Butler. Kindred? Is that the name of it? And that was a sci-fi book. That was fascinating. I loved that book, but I don't normally go towards sci-fi. So this is kind of taking me out of my comfort zone a little bit. So yeah. that's my 2019 PopSugar reading challenge that I'm doing, and I think that's all the updates that I have. So this is 49 minutes long, and I know I have a couple of updates to edit and add to this, so it will be a nice long juicy Letitia video. So I'm being consistent. I want to do Kyle's tag. I know Michelle just did it. I don't want to say it's a 2019 tag. I don't know the name of the tag, but I want to do it during a Stitch With Me video, so I might end up doing that today, because today is the last full day I have to work on Tribal Monkey. I have to work tomorrow, and tomorrow his rotation ends, and then on Tuesday the rotation starts for Esther's Waves. And just as a reminder, that's going to be my new year, new start, because it only has 2 Jessica stitches in it. So it's basically a new start, but it's not a new start. And there's no way I can do a Stitch With Me video on that. So I might record that Stitch With Me today. And if not, I don't know when I'll do it, but I definitely want to do it, Kyle. So that being said, that's all I have. It's been quite the week with Christmas and everything that's happened this week. Lot going on with people. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, be kind to one another, be kind to yourselves. And this is most certainly going to be my last update video for the new year. For 2018. So I wish you all a very healthy, very happy, prosperous, and bountiful new year. Just be kind to one another. Be kind to yourselves. That's the only resolution that you make that's a good one to have. So with that being said, thank you guys for sticking with me this year. It's been fun.